I don't know if he makes them an elite team in a division with the Chargers roster, the Broncos roster.
Terrifying Chargers. The Chargers who last won a playoff game with Phillip Rivers. I got to bow at the altar of your silly Chargers, who every year either miss the playoffs in embarrassing fashion or make the playoffs and lose in even more embarrassing fashion. I don't want to hear about the Chargers. Now, the Broncos, they were the 1 seed. They won 14 games. Bo Nix played his playoff game against Josh Allen. They got unlucky, broke his ankle. And I like the Jalen Waddle addition. I didn't believe in the Broncos last year. Give them respect. They actually earned it, unlike your Chargers, which are boring.
Yeah, okay. This is what I want to talk about. That's all he has to say about the Broncos. Nick Wright actually finally admitting that the Broncos are a legitimate threat. That they are owed respect. Now, I don't think he's going to continue giving it to them. Although I think that Waddle trade is making him a little uncomfortable. Because Nick had said before that the Broncos were going to be scarred by how things ended last season. That they wouldn't be able to overcome it. That they were so close to a Super Bowl and didn't get there, and it was going to eat at them and destroy them, like what happened to the Detroit Lions in 2023. That was his take. And he went on a whole rant about the Chargers. Oh my gosh, they're nothing. There's no point in even considering the Chargers as a threat to the Kansas City Chiefs. How dare you? That's a joke. But the Broncos? Yeah, no, for sure. Totally fair. I find that interesting. Because he easily could have taken a different angle. He could have said, I'm sorry. Bo Nix has 2 great games out of 35 or whatever, and now all of a sudden we think he's this great quarterback? He could have said that game against Josh Allen and the Bills will do more harm to the Broncos over the next 5 years than any harm Russell Wilson ever caused. Because that game is going to give them the delusion that they actually have a great quarterback, and they don't. And now Sean Payton isn't even calling the plays. What's up with that? You could have that take. I just made that up right now, and yeah, we could have a whole segment about that. You could go on and on. But we didn't get that. We got a complete turn of energy. It was like, how dare you even mention the Chargers? Are you insane? They're nothing. But the Broncos? Yeah. He couldn't bring that same level of negative energy toward them. Yeah, no. The Broncos, unfortunately, they're good. And Bo Nix might not be a terrible quarterback like I thought he was. It's like, wait, say that again? What did you say? So is this the little kernel of respect finally changing around the Denver Broncos? Are the tides turning in Denver? With those beautiful oceans they've got out there in Colorado, are the tides turning? Will there actually finally be respect? Because when you think about the Broncos, these last 2 seasons have been great for them. And the respect factor has been non-existent. They might be one of the most disrespected number 1 seeds of all time. Remember when I made that clip about Alex Smith where he said they were the worst 1 seed ever, or the least intimidating 1 seed, some sort of nonsense like that? And then they took down Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in overtime. Seems pretty great. Pretty intimidating. Would have gotten to the Super Bowl. That's the thing that still irks me so much. Because at least I would have been able to say, well, they got to the Super Bowl. Even if they didn't win it, they got there. You said they were so bad, and they got to the Super Bowl. Now we have to play the game where people say, well, if Bo Nix was healthy, then they would have gotten there. And I have people who say, no, even if Bo Nix was there, they wouldn't have gotten there. Really? Bo Nix would have been worse than Jarrett Stidham? What evidence is that? I could understand if they lost by 20. Then I could say, okay, maybe Bo Nix wouldn't have been that much of a difference maker. But as someone who was incredibly positive about the Patriots and defended them and believed in them, I have no problem saying I fully believe the Broncos would have won that game if Bo Nix was playing. The Patriots deserve to say they went to the Super Bowl and all that. I think they were a great team too. Love Drake May. But the Broncos would have gotten to the Super Bowl. Now, we can't always play the game of if so-and-so was healthy, they would have won. People try to do that. If Zay Flowers was healthy, they would have beaten the Bills in 2024. And it's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think it's a little more straightforward with a quarterback. And maybe Bo Nix has one of the worst games we've ever seen, totally possible. he could have walked out on that field and been a disaster. Could have been one of those games you never forget because of how bad it was. I don't think that's what would have happened. In fact, I think we would have seen Bo Nix elevate again. Why? Because he's elevated in every single big game he's ever played in the NFL. Every single one. Whether it's multiple playoff games, regular season games, rookie year, year 2. There hasn't been a single big game he's played in that you could say he wasn't good enough. That he was lost, confused, overwhelmed. Every big game, he showed up. So I'm going to say he was going to show up against the Patriots. And now against the Seahawks, if he continues to truly keep showing up, who knows? So it's just interesting. Because I think even right now, and I've talked about this a bunch this offseason, I think the Waddle trade has changed things a little bit. Even the people who weren't 100% willing to give the Broncos much respect, Nick himself emphasized that even with Waddle, they're still third in the division in terms of odds or whatever. He said Vegas doesn't think Waddle makes that much of a difference. But I do think the Waddle trade has made people kind of go, this is interesting. Like, I can't as confidently downplay who the Broncos are. At a minimum, maybe they're not the 1 seed again, which is not uncommon. I'm not expecting them to win 14 or 15 games. But at a minimum, winning the division, or at least being the 5 or 6 seed. At a minimum, they're a competitive team, and you're not necessarily excited to play them. And in this little snapshot segment here, Nick is riding the emotion, he's having fun, obviously. But it's an emotional wave where he's just ranting against the Chargers. As someone who catches big emotional waves and goes on and on myself, I'm telling you, it would be so easy to continue riding that wave and just go on and on about the Broncos. Fool's gold. Not that competitive. I think the AFC Championship game is going to ruin them. Sean Payton is no longer calling plays. Bo Nix, congrats, you had one good game against Josh Allen. He didn't do that. He had to come to a screeching halt. It was like, the Chargers? How dare you? Well, the Broncos though, yeah, no, I'll give you the Broncos. Whoa. Talk about whiplash. So are we going to start seeing more favorable takes about the Denver Broncos? The number 1 seed last year. The team that got to the AFC Championship game. I know, it's crazy to think that a team that has gotten better every single year with Sean Payton and Bo Nix, that got to the AFC Championship game, that outdueled and outplayed Josh Allen and the Bills, should have a high level of respect and a sense of momentum. Yeah, I know. It's a wild thought. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Denver Broncos and this idea that respect for them might finally be around the corner? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you be part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.